Is $500 even enough to start investing? In this video, I'm going to show you how a single $500 investment can compound into roughly $174,000 over time, and how adding just $2 per week can eventually create a future dividend income of around $4,300 per month. What makes this powerful is that you don't need a huge salary or perfect timing. You only need a small snowball and enough patience to let it roll. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. The earlier you start, even with tiny amounts, the more the math begins to bend in your favor. Most people think investing is about big money. But the real secret is consistency, time, and avoiding the traps that slow your compounding down. Today, you'll see how even the smallest financial habit can quietly turn into something life-changing. You're here because you want to know whether small amounts of money can realistically change your financial future. Today, you will see exactly how that works. You will understand why simply saving money quietly pushes you backward, how fractional shares and DRIP give even tiny contributions surprising power, and what happens when you invest $500 one time compared to $500 plus $2 per week. Many people assume you need thousands before you begin. Yet the truth is that waiting often costs more than starting small. Every year you delay is a year where your snowball could have been growing. I've spent years studying long-term compounding and running the calculations behind these projections, and in this video, I will break the logic down so anyone can follow it. No complicated formulas, no jargon, just clear math that shows how your future can change with small, consistent steps. Let's begin. Before we talk about growing money, we need to understand the force that quietly reduces your buying power. Inflation. Even when inflation sits at 2 to 3%, the price of everything around you increases year after year. Food, rent, services, transportation. At the same time, most savings accounts pay almost nothing after taxes. So even if your bank balance stays at $500 forever, the value of that money shrinks over time. It buys less every year, even though the number on the screen looks the same. This leads us to one of the most important rules in personal finance. Your money must grow faster than prices. If it doesn't, you fall behind despite trying to be safe. This is why saving money alone is not a strategy. It's a holding pattern. Inflation erodes your purchasing power quietly, slowly, and permanently. Investing isn't about getting rich quickly. It's about escaping a system where standing still guarantees loss. Now that we've identified the enemy, we can look at the tools that allow small contributions to turn into long-term growth. Here is something many beginners never realize. You don't need to buy a full share of an expensive stock. Fractional shares let you invest any amount you choose. $10, $5, even $1, while still owning a proportional slice of that company or ETF. This makes investing accessible even for someone working with a tight weekly budget. No more waiting until you have hundreds of dollars. You can start immediately. The second tool is DRIP, the Dividend Reinvestment Plan. Instead of receiving dividends in cash, DRIP automatically reinvests them to buy more shares. In the beginning, these dividends may only be a few cents, so small that they feel meaningless. But every reinvested payout increases your ownership, which increases your next dividend, and the cycle repeats. That tiny snowball begins to roll. At first it feels insignificant, then it becomes noticeable, and eventually, it becomes transformative. This is how DRIP turns time into your greatest multiplier. Even the smallest dollars begin to build momentum when you let compounding do the heavy lifting. Now that you understand the tools, the next step is knowing where to put your money so that your snowball grows on stable ground. Not every dividend investment grows into a stable snowball. Some build long-term wealth, while others fall apart. That's why you need a simple filter. The first principle is to focus on yields in the general range of 2 to 5%. Extremely high yields above 10% often signal underlying problems: falling revenue, excessive debt, or dividends that may not be sustainable. The second principle is dividend growth. A company or ETF that raises its dividend every year essentially gives you a built-in raise. Over time, these growing payouts compound powerfully when reinvested. The third principle is to prioritize resilient sectors with stable cash flows: utilities, consumer staples, healthcare, infrastructure, or broad diversified ETF. These are not flashy industries, but they remain relevant across economic cycles. The goal is reliability rather than excitement. If your dividend engine stays consistent, your snowball keeps rolling, even in years when the market moves sideways. With this foundation in place, we can now explore what these principles actually do to your $500 over time. This is the part that often surprises people. If you invest $500 once, reinvest dividends, and let compounding work for several decades, the value grows to roughly $174,000. This happens not because you added more money, but because you allowed time to multiply the initial amount. Now, consider what happens when you introduce one tiny change. If you invest the same $500 and then add only $2 per week, the price of a snack, a soda, or a forgotten subscription, the long-term result becomes dramatically different. Over the same time frame, you build a portfolio worth around $373,000, capable of producing approximately $4,300 per month in dividend income at maturity. That is the power of consistency. That is the power of small habits. It doesn't happen quickly, and it doesn't happen by luck. The difference between these two scenarios is not the extra $2. It is the change in trajectory that those contributions create. You do not need a massive starting balance. You need a plan, a small habit, and the patience to let compounding reshape your future. Most people hesitate to begin because they believe they need more money. They think investing is something you do later, when you earn more, when life is easier, when things calm down. But the people who eventually build long-term wealth usually begin with whatever they have, even if that is only $500, and they let time do the heavy lifting. Small dollars, repeated consistently, become powerful when given enough years to work. That is the essence of the snowball strategy. And once the snowball becomes large enough, the growth becomes unstoppable. Before you go, take a moment to comment below and share the first $2 per week expense you can cut and redirect into your future snowball. Your answer might inspire someone else who thinks they don't have enough to begin. And if you want to amplify everything you learned today, watch the next video where I explain how dividend growth accelerates returns even when the market moves sideways. Understanding that mechanism makes your snowball far stronger.